we look at the discussion document on peace and stability, the paper calls for the Department of Home Affairs to be positioned as a backbone of security, service delivery and the development state. It also looks at transformation and rationalization of the courts, including their structures, composition and areas of jurisdiction, arguing this is needed to establish a judicial system suited to the Constitution. And to discuss this, we're joined here in our studios by ANC NEC member and rapporteur of the Peace and Stability Commission, Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula. Minister, very good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for joining us. You've been sitting in at these commissions, especially on this particular subject. How far ahead are you, and what is being reported back on the proposals on the table?
Thank you very much. I must say that we are at the tail end of our discussion as a commission, and it's very clear that obviously there is a bit of impatience, and people feel that some of the decisions and resolutions that we took at the Polokwane conference, but also on the 52nd conference, which was Stellenbosch, have not been really implemented. And people are advocating for a mechanism for monitoring implementation of policy decisions that have been taken by conferences of the ANC. I must say that what's emerging very strongly is the matter of a single police system, which is a constitutional imperative, but also which has a resolution that was outlined by the 52nd conference, where we said metro police, traffic police, municipal police, all of them should be under the command and control of the National Commissioner of the Police. This has emerged very, very strongly and very sharply, and people are saying they don't quite appreciate the fact that we still don't have a mechanism that can assist us to exercise this command and control over all police entities.
Once you have that central command that is being proposed, how will you then determine which spheres within the police should be stationed at local government? Because there will be a need for that.
I must say that one of the issues that have come out under that discussion is the method of demarcation. And people are saying police as well, police stations should be demarcated along the lines of municipalities. And therefore, what is important here is that once the command and control of the entire police service is under the National Commissioner of the Police, obviously there will be a need to have service level agreements or MOUs together with the municipalities concerned to determine how this is going to be done.
There's been an issue of the militarization of the police, and the criticism has always been that it has not made the police more effective. In fact, it has in some cases made them more brutal. If you look at service delivery protests and the manner in which police have dealt with protesters, etc. But I suppose the more fundamental question is this conference thinking of going back to a police service, or are we still remaining with a police force?
I must say that there are two schools of thought on the matter. The matter is still under discussion, and obviously by the time we report to plenary, we shall have decided what exactly we want to do. But certainly there is a very strong view that police should be at the service of the South African public, and that the police force does not work for the country, because when we inherited the police in this country, we really had a police force that actually was very militarized, that was very brutal against the citizens of the country. And some people are therefore feel that perhaps we should stick to police service because we are at the service of citizens. But obviously there is also another school of thought which says that you can't push back crime and prevent crime and combat crime without applying some form of force. But my impression is that it is not necessarily a popular view in the Commission. But certainly by the time we report, we'll be able to report on a clear recommendation that will go to conference.
Is there a need, or is there even further discussion on streamlining security as a whole, including the military?
There have been a number of areas that have been identified which are problematic. And let me say that one of the proposals being made is that perhaps we need to have a document, an analysis of the current security system, the organs of state in the country, what their role should be, how they should operate, what have been the successes in the past 18 years of democracy. And I must say that one of the things that are coming out very sharply is how we have not utilized some of the resource capacity that we have in the organization to strengthen our organs of state. And a practical example here is our inability to tap on the resource, the skills and expertise that some of our combatants who were trained during the Liberation War have. And therefore they need to define what it is that exactly we want in South Africa, in view of the fact that we are now 18 years into a democratic South Africa, 16 years of constitutional democracy, and obviously there are lessons learned from some of the decisions that we took.
Okay, Minister, speaking of lessons learned, South Africa experienced a very embarrassing incident, and that was the xenophobic attacks.
Yes.
And it sharply brought into focus a whole issue of asylum seekers and refugees, the categorization thereof, and on what basis you grant that. And how do you also separate the whole phenomena of economic migrants?
I must say that we did discuss the issue of xenophobia, and a number of people felt very strongly that South Africa is not a xenophobic country. However, there are certain things that we need to do as a state, particularly the border management agency that we are establishing, that of making sure that there are more stringent measures at the border to prevent economic migrants from streaming into the country. Truth be told, what we discovered that in fact 90% of the migrants that we have are economic migrants and not refugees. And therefore, these are not people who are coming from countries where they are being persecuted. Mm-hmm. And that issue has also come to the fore. People feel very strongly that we need to be harder in the manner in which we deal with people who are illegal migrants in South Africa, but also deal in a manner that will sanitize our systems such that we acknowledge who indeed is an economic migrant destitute, but also an economic migrant who's bent on
Minister,
coming to
we are running out of time,
country.
and you'll forgive me for interjecting here, but just very briefly, just on the issue of asylum seekers and refugees, etc., there's the whole issue of training police on how to deal with them, and there's a perceived racial profiling of asylum seekers and refugees. How do you intend to tackle that? Just very briefly.
I think one of the things that we should indicate that's coming from the document which we are presenting is that South Africa has taken a very decisive step of putting together a single national identity system, which is one of the things that will assist us to prevent some of the things that you are talking about, because currently we have the National Population Register, which has all South African citizens, and then you have the Movement Control System, which is a system that has been developed purely to deal with migrants. And we are saying let's have a single national identity system that will have the profile of both foreigners and South African citizens. And I think for me, that's a very critical decision, that the recommendation that we shall be making to plenary and to conference subsequently, because it tries to deal, amongst others, with the security issues that we have, but also to say that really once you live in South Africa, you are now in one national identity
Minister, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for your time. That's ANC NEC member and rapporteur on the Peace and Stability Commission, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula.